What's going on, guys? TCG Guide here, and for a while now, Konami has been on a kick of releasing new support for old and forgotten archetypes. In this archetype analysis, we're going to be looking at one of the newer ones, and that's Ruin and Demise. Demise King of Armageddon and Ruin Queen of Oblivion both came out way back in 2006, and now, 12 years later, they're finally getting some support. But is a Ritual deck really going to do anything in this format? Let's find out. Starting out, we've got the level 4 version of Demise, and that's Demise Agent of Destruction. For starters, while this guy is on the field or in your hand, its name is Demise King of Armageddon, letting you use the old Ritual spell to summon him. That's something that is common between all of the new Ritual monsters in this archetype. They have the original name as long as they're on the field or in the hand. Its second effect is something that you need to remember because it's not optional. If it gets Ritual summoned, you have to destroy a face-up monster, and if you aren't careful, it'll just pop itself. That said, sometimes that's just what you're gonna want, because if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a face-up Ritual monster you control, and while that Ritual monster is face-up on the field, your opponent cannot respond to your Ritual monster's effects. And of course, since this is a level 4, you can always use cards like Senju, Manju, or Sonic Bird as fodder for the summon. This is easily a 3 of. Moving on, next we've got Ruin Angel of Oblivion. Her name becomes Ruin Queen of Oblivion on the field or in the hand. Her on-summon effect is nice, letting her make 2 attacks on monsters. Though if things are going right for you, monsters really won't be much of a problem. And if she is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Ritual monster you control, and as long as it's face up on the field, your opponent can't activate cards or effects in response to your Ritual monster's attacks. This is one I'd keep down at 1 because she's nice for the protection she can give, but since it's only when you declare an attack, it leaves you open for a lot. Next up are the level 8s, and Demise King of Armageddon is one of the ones that started it all, and to be honest, it's still a little menacing. Basically, he's a dark hole on legs, but since he's just a boss like that, he doesn't destroy himself. You do have to pay 2,000 life to activate this though, so be a little picky when using him. Even with that drawback though, I'd still run 3. Not only do you need at least 1 for pre-prep to be live, but its level and the fact that it's dark means that if nothing else, it can be used as fodder for trade-in or Allure of Darkness. Of course, we can't have our king without a queen. Ruin Queen of Oblivion is next, and really, she isn't that great on her own. If she destroys a monster by battle, she can attack again in a row, which is nice, but her attack is only 2300, so that really won't come up that often. If you have an Honest, you can use that, but that's a different story because chances are your deck won't have very much room for Honest, especially with the level 4 Ruin being at 1 or less. This is one I skip completely, and if I were you, I'd do the same. Lastly, we've got our 2 boss monsters, the first being Demise Supreme King of Armageddon. Its name becomes Demise King of Armageddon in the hand or on the field, and much like the King, Supreme King lets you pay 2,000 life, but this time when you do, you're getting rid of all cards except your boy. And when you do, you burn your opponent for 200 for each of their destroyed cards. What's even better though, is if you used only Ritual monsters as tribute for its summon, you don't have to pay any life points to activate its effect. Oh, and as long as it stays on the field, your Ritual monsters can't be destroyed by battle. But that's not important, right? Do I even need to tell you to run 3? But for real though, the last monster in the archetype is Ruin Supreme Queen of Oblivion. This is where things get really fun. Her name changes in the hand, but that's standard for the archetype. What's not standard though is giving protection from card effects to your Ritual monsters. Yep, that's right. With Supreme King out, all of your Ritual monsters are safe from Demise's effect, meaning you'll be able to swing away with nothing stopping your Ritual monsters. That's really handy too, since if she's summoned using only Ritual monsters, she can make a second attack during each battle phase, which works really nicely with her other effect, which lets you burn your opponent when she destroys a monster by battle. Again though, if things are working right, you shouldn't have any monsters in your way to begin with. Considering she's really what enables the OTK for this deck, keep her at 3. Moving on to the support, Ruin and Demise only have 2 actual ritual spells, and the first is End of the World. End of the World can be used to summon Ruin, Queen of Oblivion, or Demise, King of Armageddon, which isn't too bad since all their names become one of those while they're in your hand. This also lets you use monsters from your hand as well as monsters on the field for the ritual summon, but their levels have to equal the level of the monster that you want to summon. Just the fact that this lets you use monsters from your hand as tribute is enough to make me run 3, even with that little drawback about the levels. Cycle of the World is next, and again, it only lets you summon Ruin, Queen of Oblivion, or Demise, King of Armageddon from your hand, and again, it's not that big of a deal since their names become that in the hand. With Cycle of the World though, you won't be able to use monsters in your hand for the tribute. Instead, you'll have to use monsters on the field, but their levels don't have to exactly match. You can use monsters that exceed its level if you need to. One thing this card does have over End of the World is its second effect, and that lets you search out End of the World from your deck and add it to your hand, which is good enough by itself, but as a cost, you shuffle Cycle back into the deck, and after you've added End of the World, you can add Ruin, Queen of Oblivion, or Demise, King of Armageddon from your graveyard to your hand. Don't worry though, you don't have to have Ruin or Demise in the grave to activate Cycle's second effect. It just has to be your main phase and not the turn it was sent to the graveyard. This is yet another 3 of, especially since the archetype only has the 2 ritual spells. Even though Ruin and Demise only have 2 ritual spells, there are more ways that you can ritual summon your monsters, like Turning of the World. Turning is a quick play spell that actually lets you ritual summon your monsters as a quick effect. This is nuts, and if you don't already see why, I'll explain. Let's say it's your opponent's turn, and they summon a monster with an activated effect that you don't want going off. Activate this after it's summoned, special summon Demise, Agent of Armageddon, then pop that monster. Or maybe it's your opponent's battle phase and they're about to attack for game. Using Turning of the World, you can special summon Demise Supreme King, and now, unless there's an effect your opponent can use to take him out, you are fine since Supreme King makes it so that your ritual monsters can't be destroyed by battle. There are a couple of caveats to watch out for though with Turning of the World. First of all, this does let you ritual summon from the hand or deck, which is very nice and not something many cards do, but if you do ritual summon from the deck, the only monsters you can summon are Demise, King of Armageddon, and Ruin, Queen of Oblivion, since your monsters don't change their name in the deck. Second, and equally important to be aware of, you cannot tribute monsters from the field for the ritual summon. They have to come from your hand. But the monster's level can equal or exceed the level of the monster you're trying to ritual summon, so that's also a nice little boon. With all that in mind, this is one you'd probably only want to run at 1. Its benefits do outweigh its drawbacks, but just barely. And because every archetype needs a field spell, we've got Breaking the World finishing off the spells. For starters, Breaking of the World can be a pretty big help when it comes to getting your Supreme Kings and Queens out by letting you target one of your ritual monsters, revealing the ritual monster you're trying to summon, and making your ritual monster on the field's level become equal to the monster you revealed's level. This not only lets you turn a level 4 Ruin or Demise into a level 10, since you're only using one ritual monster as the tribute for the summon, you'll be able to make better use of your Supreme King or Queen's effects. That isn't all this card does though. If you ritual summon Ruin, Queen of Oblivion, or Demise, King of Armageddon, you can either draw a card or destroy a monster on the field. This is pretty good since all of your ritual monsters will fit the bill for this one, and since you have a way to ritual summon on your opponent's turn, you can get an extra draw or just pop a monster fairly easily as a quick effect. That said, if your goal is to get an OTK, you probably don't want to run this one since it only extends your plays slightly, if at all, since you'll need to have a low level ritual monster, plus you'll need access to at least 3 ritual spells. 1 for your little ritual and 2 for the 2 big ritual monsters. This last card is technically a card for the archetype, but it can work in just about any ritual deck. Renewal of the World is the only trap for Ruin and Demise, but only by name. When it's activated, you banish a ritual monster from your deck. Then, anytime after that, you can send Renewal to the grave to activate one of its two effects. Either ritual summon the banished monster by tributing monsters on your field, in your hand, or by shuffling a ritual monster from your graveyard into the deck. Or you can just add the banished ritual monster to your hand. This can be pretty good for recursion since it lets you refill your deck with ritual monsters you've already summoned. It can also protect you by helping you summon a monster if you need it. It's pretty slow though, being a trap. And for an archetype like this one, you really won't want to use it. It's just a little too slow for its own good. That is all this archetype has to offer, but if you've seen my analysis videos before, you know that I always give a few cards you could consider for your build. And the first is actually a duo. Incantation Kandal and Talismandra are pretty perfect for this deck, with their levels adding up to 10. Not only that, they don't take up your normal summon, and they search ritual spells and monsters respectively. They're also light and dark just like Demise and Ruin, which is what you need to summon the next card. And that's Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. Okay, is this really a surprise to anyone? It's incredibly easy to summon after a ritual summon of either Supreme King or Supreme Queen using the incantations, and if your opponent has a monster that can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, this can be the deciding factor for your OTK. Of course, all the standard ritual support is good for this deck. Cards like Senju, Manju, and the good old Sonic Bird. Not only do these fix hands and add in an extra consistency layer, they also give you extra levels for ritual summons, since they have to be summoned to activate their effects. For a lot of the same reasons, Pre-Prep and Preparation of Rites can also be good additions to your deck. Both of these cards can get you a ritual spell and a ritual monster, but they both have their drawbacks too. Pre-Prep gets you a spell and a monster listed on it, but the problem there is that you have to have at least one copy of the level 8s in your deck or grave in order for it to be useful. Preparation of Rites will get you one of your level 4 ritual monsters, and if you have a ritual spell in the graveyard, you can add it to your hand. Overall, Demise and Ruin does have the one big issue that a lot of ritual decks have, and that's consistency. It's nowhere near as bad as most ritual decks, but it does have a pretty good chance of bricking. That said, when this deck works, it really works and can OTK easily enough with the right hand. Between blowing up everything and pumping out level 10 ritual monsters, this deck is a lot of fun, and if you can, definitely give this one a try. And that's all there is for today, folks. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you thought down in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to give it a like, and if you want to help the channel grow, the best way is to share the video somewhere on the internet. Thanks again for watching, and for more great videos just like this, subscribe and click on the notification bell to get notified as soon as my videos go live. But that's all the time we have for today. Follow me on Twitter, and as I always say, have a great day, guys.